Welcome to the series, The Truth About Atheism. In this video series, I will correct the most common delusions and misrepresentations regarding atheism and atheists. I will explain what atheism is and what it's not, and what atheists are and what atheists are not. Today we will show that atheism has no burden of proof. No matter how desperately some bad actors on YouTube try to fool you into thinking something else, atheism has no burden of proof. So, what is the burden of proof? The burden of proof is the principle that he who makes a claim has the responsibility of providing sufficient evidence to at least significantly support that claim, but preferably to prove that claim. And without that kind of evidence, a claim is intellectually meaningless and can be dismissed. So if we want to find out if, for example, a philosophy, a teaching, a doctrine, a worldview, or an ideology has a burden of proof, we need to find out if it makes any claims. However, general atheism is none of that. It's not a teaching, it's not a worldview or anything like that. All it is not having a position on the existence of gods. So, general atheism does not involve any claim or even a statement. Therefore, it does not have a burden of proof. Even if I were a so-called hard atheist, I would not have a burden of proof. If I were a hard atheist, I would believe that no gods exist, but even in that case I would not have a burden of proof because I would not make any claim. The burden of proof only comes into play if I were to say a god exists or a god does not exist. People who make these claims, they do have a burden of proof. However, general atheism does not make any such claim. Now, how about those bad actors on YouTube? They hate it that general atheists do not have a burden of proof, so they desperately come up with nonsense to make you believe otherwise. Lately I've seen two methods for this. The first one is that they say, an atheist says he does not believe in the existence of a god. Saying that you do not believe something is a claim, so atheists have the burden of proof to demonstrate that they actually do not believe something. So instead of focusing on the existence or non-existence of gods, which is the actual topic, they ask you to prove that you do not believe something, which is a total waste of time, and they know it. Because if they ask you to prove that you do not believe something, you now have to ask them to prove that they do not believe in vampires, Cinderella, and Merlin the Wizard, which will all lead to the same useless discussion. Because if they can't prove that, it shows that their argument is useless. But if they can prove that they don't believe in such things, the same arguments prove that you do not believe in their God. But apart from that, I must emphasize that the fact that I do not believe in the existence of gods is not a claim that atheism makes. Thinking that would be a category error. Atheism itself is not a doctrine that teaches that people do not believe something. Atheism does not even claim that atheists exist. If I say that I do not believe in the existence of gods, then that happens to be my individual claim. That of course stems from my underlying atheism, but atheism itself does not make that claim. Anyone who is delusional enough to say that atheism has a burden of proof, I challenge you. Articulate the supposed claim that atheism makes, not the supposed claims that individual atheists might or might not make. No, I am challenging you to articulate the claim that atheism makes. I'll wait, but at some point, of course, I will move on to more useful things. Another embarrassing counter I have heard from the theistic side is that atheists supposedly have the burden of proof to demonstrate that believing that gods don't exist is different from not believing that gods exist. There even is a guy on YouTube who made about 50 videos about this. He even wrote a book about it. At least, he sent a text to a print-on-demand service and they delivered. This is all a complete waste of time. Of course, they are totally different things. believing a God does not exist is different from not believing that a God does exist. The former is a belief position. The latter is the absence of a belief position. It's even defined like that. And even if they were the same, atheism doesn't make any claim about them being different or not. So no, despite desperate attempts of bad actors on YouTube, atheism has no burden of proof whatsoever. Thank you for your attention.